Welcome back to the firm. Is it against the law for a company to change its mind? Surely not. But wait, before you make up your mind, take a look at the curious case of Fresenius Kabi. Last year in May, the foreign parent of Fresenius Kabi, an Indian oncology drugs company, announced its intention to sell up to 15% promoter stake and reduce its shareholding to 75% via one or more offers for sale or OFS. This in order to meet the 25% minimum public shareholding norm. Subsequently, in October, the promoter stake was reduced to 81% via a 9% OFS to a handful of foreign institutional investors. But 6 months later, Fresenius Kabi's promoter changed its mind. The company informed the exchanges that the promoter had now decided to delist the company and to acquire all 19% of the public shareholding via a voluntary delisting offer. The promoter set a floor price of 130 rupees and the Fresenius Kabi India board approved the delisting offer. On May 25th, the company informed the exchanges that it had received via postal ballot the requisite shareholder approval for the delisting. 10 days later, the delisting plan was stymied. On June 4th, SEBI, in an interim order, imposed sanctions on over 100 listed companies that had not complied with the 25% minimum public shareholding norm. Fresenius Kabi was on that list. And as a consequence, its promoters are now barred from buying or selling any shares till SEBI's final order is out. That puts paid to the delisting process, at least for now. And so earlier this week, Fresenius Kabi approached the Securities Appellate Tribunal seeking relief. Well, to talk about this very interesting case of Fresenius Kabi and one that has become rather controversial, I have with me corporate lawyer Vyapak Desai of Nishit Desai Associates and SES founder J.N. Gupta. Mr. Gupta, Vyapak, thank you very much for joining me on the show. Vyapak, I want to start with you by asking you this question. Is there anything in the law or anywhere in SEBI regulations that prohibits a company from changing its mind?
So, I think we need to break this question into two.
Okay.
One is whether the order will come in the way for doing a delisting, and two, whether SEBI can impose any restriction for delisting. Now, if you see the order, it says you cannot buy or sell,
right,
or the promoters cannot buy or sell the securities except for the purpose of complying with the MPS.
Yeah.
Now, at the end of the day, what is the objective? Either you comply with MPS or you delist.
Right.
So long as the company has an intention to one way or the other comply with the listing agreement, which requires you to either comply with MPS or you don't get listed on the stock exchange. I don't see why Securities Appellate Tribunal should not allow the company to buy or sell shares or the promoters to buy or sell shares, so long as they are doing it only for the purpose or the limited purpose of complying with the listing agreement.
Which is, if you can't reach 25%, delist.
Now whether they have changed their mind or whether OFS was done for malicious or extraneous reasons, the remedy lies somewhere else, and not restricting a company to do what a corporate law or SEBI regulations would allow that company to do, so long as they are following the delisting regulations.
Do you agree with that? Because your report at SES has raised the question that was the OFS done not to meet the minimum public shareholding guidelines, but instead to facilitate the delisting?
Again, the question and answer will be in different parts. The first, I agree with him that the compliance with the listing agreement will be either by reducing the promoter's shareholding or going for delisting.
Right.
But then when you go for delisting, you don't have to go for the delisting through the other thing, you have to go for the delisting rules.
So they're doing that?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So you are doing this. Now there is something known as what is the public information. And I have given an information to the public somewhere in October or somewhere in the May 2012 that I am planning to go for minimum public shareholding, complying with the minimum public shareholding.
I changed my mind. I did that OFS, but thereafter there was 6 months and I changed my mind in those 6 months.
The right is there with every individual to change the mind. But when you change the mind, you have also to take into account the step that you have already taken for that, and you have to retrace that step.
You're saying or raising the issue that did Fresenius Kabi play some sort of regulatory arbitrage?
The OFS was not allowed subject to the condition that you will not do delisting.
No.
Delisting regulation says that under what circumstances you cannot do delisting.
I'm not
Otherwise-
at all questioning delisting.
So-
I am questioning the OFS. You
You're
could have
saying the
go-
OFS was
you
done-
could have gone to the route of OFS only if you were either the top 100 company market cap wise, or you were doing it for
MPS.
MPS. Since you had gone on the OFS route for MPS and you later said that it is not for MPS, then you got to retrace your step back to the original position. So the law very clearly provides.
So why should you? You did the OFS, and thereafter, in the 6 months after the OFS, you could have done a second OFS to go from 81 to 75, but instead you realized because of certain events that you wanted to delist the company, and you chose to proceed on
I
delisting.
totally agree with then you have to look into what has been the consequences of OFS. By doing OFS, the company has made its life easier for doing delisting. For the simple reason, earlier they were to acquire a shareholding which would have gone up to 95% for delisting. Now they have to go 90.5%. This benefit that has got, or this easiness, or whatever you can name it, has come to them by going across a OFS route on a premise
Okay.
that you are going to.
So the question that the
let me-
SES report raises is as simple as this: did they do the OFS so that they could have a more successful or an easier path to a successful delisting? Because through the OFS, they have now allotted shares to some 3 or 4 foreign financial institutions or foreign institutional investors. So when it comes to the delisting, they only have to be able to meet the ability to purchase. So the role of those FIIs becomes very important in the delisting
So,
here.
2 points here. One, making delisting easier. Is that a restriction for going for delisting?
No, not at all.
If you have done something which you were not supposed to do, the remedy lies as to whether
So
that
you're saying
step.
it's okay. We haven't established that the company did the OFS to
Correct.
facilitate the delisting.
Even if-
and it would be unfair to say
even
that.
if
It never be
even
established. It will never be established.
No, because the company, I'm told by sources close to the company, because they're not talking since the matter is sub judice, that the reason they're going to use in STAT to explain why they changed their mind was an FDA inspection at one of their plants in India, which caused a production shutdown. And thereafter, the management changed its mind, saying it's best in this business if we kept this company private. Hence, let's decide to delist. Does it
Listen,
matter how valid or
no regulator or no court can question what is your mind.
Right.
Okay. It is the circumstances and remedy lies in restoring the original position. I am not saying because if SEBI was to do or SET was to do, you cannot play that, no, this was not the intention, this could not, because it becomes subjective and no law can
Exactly.
be subjective.
Yeah, so nobody questions their
Here
reason.
the only question is that, okay, you want to go for delisting, you would have to acquire total 95% shareholding, including your promoter shareholding. Go ahead with 95%, we have no problem, and that is what is a fair solution, because you had given this information to the market all the time that you are going to reduce it to 75. Suddenly it has become, no, you are not going to become 75. Then the question is this, I really cannot doubt whether the intention was the bad or right. I will never question. What I am saying is the result of which that it has made life little easier, and why other investors should suffer at the cost of somebody's life becoming easier.
But we won't know, right, till the company doesn't go through the delisting process, until we are not able to see the data of who tendered their shares, until we are not able to establish that the only reason this delisting was successful is because of that FII participation, the same FIIs who purchased in the OFS. We won't know whether the OFS is connected to the delisting. And even then, I'm not sure anybody can strike it down.
If
So
those
let's
FIIs
look
do
at-
not participate, then delisting will never
let's-
happen.
Yeah, if the delisting is allowed to go through and the FIIs play a crucial role in making the delisting a success, is there anything in the law which says that no SEBI would, have to strike down the delisting or intervene in some fashion?
I'll tell you, the remedy lies very simply that no law can be visualizing all possible situations.
Sure.
But here, very simple thing is that you have availed a window that is of OFS for a objective. When that objective is no longer there, you got to restore to the original position. Now, you cannot restore to the original position because you cannot buy back from those people, and then what will be the rate?
Right.
So the law should say that what is the best possible solution which puts you into the nearest position of original position, and that would be when you say that okay, you go ahead with the delisting, but you buy as many shares as would have put you earlier without OFS, and that is 95%.
Okay, let's take that forward. If that is what SEBI tells the company to do and company fails in achieving it, what is what is the situation? Company is not able to meet MPS,
No, they will have to sell.
And company is not able to delist.
and company is not able to delist.
No, I don't agree.
Suppose they
Because
fail in the
if they
delisting
fail in
after
the-
your
they
formula,
will- let
then
them
they
go-
have to go
let-
all the way back down to
then-
75%.
Then let them go for second OFS of 6%.
Despite everything that Mr. Gupta says, if SAT says you used the OFS, you had a genuine, intention at that point to go down to 75%. Thereafter, there were events that made you change your mind. You've changed your mind. You're now following the delisting process as laid down in the regulations. So there is no reason for any one of us to intervene. Would that be a good situation or position in law?
So far as delisting is concerned, I don't think SEBI would be entitled to intervene on
So then
this
where does the
situation.
remedy lie?
If OFS was done by making wrong disclosures, or if there was an insider trading at that point in time because somebody knew,
No, but none of that is here. None of that is the case.
so then there is no question
So
of
you're
any
saying
non-compliance.
they should be allowed to go ahead and delist.
Either there was a bad intention of doing OFS, or there was
But how
no,
do you establish bad
You can
intention
never.
when you have a change in mind?
so then why should somebody be penalized for something which is so obvious?
No. We are not penalizing, or we are not saying penalize. We are saying restore the original position. That's all.
Okay, all right, gentlemen. we fundamentally disagree on this discussion.
And second,
And let's-
I would say one thing, that even if those FIIs tender this in the listing, there you cannot say anything wrong with FII because
No.
they are earning 90%
Yeah, of course,
return.
why not?
If the company has made its life easier for delisting by doing an OFS, and if SEBI has to make that difficult by making it 90 or 95%, what objective we are going to achieve so far as the minimum or the small shareholders are concerned? Are we doing any good for the minority shareholders by doing this?
Here is a very different thing, because the delisting route or the delisting process is such that it is basically on demand and supply. Now, demand and supply by economics determine the fair price. Now, what is happening if by some method you have ensured that the supply is available to you at the price which you want, then the people who are not willing to supply will have been forced to supply
The
that.
SBS report raises this one clause in the delisting regulations that refers to the use of a device or fraud to assist you in delisting. And I suppose the second question then is that does the use of an OFS amount to some sort of deception
If it can be established by any investigation or whatever method, which will be almost impossible to establish, but if it can be established that right from day one everybody was hand in glove, then the para will apply.
I don't think there is an impossibility of establishment. If the point is that they knew and they sold it to FIIs for this purpose, and FIIs knew that they are going to go for delisting, it's a clear case where you can
But you
investigate.
will never know. You will never know.
So long as circumstantial evidence or the evidence is sufficient enough to say that they have done this with an ill motive, the remedy would lie whether it was an insider trading, the remedy would lie whether it's a manipulative trade practice, the remedy would lie whether that OFS was right or wrong, whether it satisfies the criteria of saying you cannot do delisting. That is a very different
But he's not saying don't do delisting, he's saying go back to the pre-OFS position and then do the
that
delisting.
remedy is punitive. I don't want punitive. I'm saying that go back to the status quo which was there in October 2012 and do the delisting. I have no issue.
All right.
The investors are happy.
You have no issue with the company, I'm sure we'll
that's
have
not
one.
my business.
We'll sure have one. Gentlemen, we'll agree to disagree, and this is
Yeah.
exactly why I labelled it the very curious case of Fresenius Kabi. Those hearings will continue at the Securities Appellate Tribunal in the weeks to come. We will report on the final outcome. With that, thank you both for joining me, and thank you very much for watching. We'll be back next week with The Firm.